What's up, everybody? Big Swede coming at you once again from Swede Studios. So today we're going to be going over not quite a tutorial per se, but more answering a question that's been asked to me several times now regarding how I go about recording and mixing heavy guitars in my stuff. It's a common problem, honestly, especially for people that are just getting into recording and mixing. Luckily, the solution is pretty simple. So we'll go into what the issue is, what people are asking about, my process for how I go about solving it, and we'll do some examples as well. I'll do some A/B tests in a mix and show you guys just how big a difference this can make in your mixes. So let's get in it. All right, so the question is this. How do you get your guitars to sound really big and full and powerful in the mix? People say that they'll record their guitars, and then when they get in the mix, the guitars just sound kind of weak and, flat. Maybe things are muddy. The guitars are just getting lost in the mix. And if they push the volume up on the guitars get better, but everything else underneath it kind of starts to fall apart and you lose some of that. So how do you get that balance of the big, powerful guitars where everything else is sitting really well in the mix? And it's a common problem, like I said, especially when people are first starting out. But the solution is very simple. It's 2 steps, and you're going to get great results with it. Before we get into any of that, though, number 1 rule when you're recording anything, guitars, drums, vocals, anything, get it right at the source. If your source tracks aren't good, your end product's probably not going to be very good either. Is it possible to take a bad recording and quote unquote fix it in the mix? To a certain extent, yes. You can do certain things in the mix to help it get better, but nothing is ever going to be better than if you capture it properly at the source. So, make sure that your source sounds good, your guitars, your amp, your DI, if you're going into the computer, make sure all that stuff is solid and clean, and you can play it well. That's really one of the most important things. Make sure you're playing the parts well. All right, so how do we solve this problem? How do we get our guitars to sound big and full and powerful in the mix? So, as I said, 2 steps, pretty simple. Number 1 is double track your rhythm guitars. Now, when I say double track, I don't mean record it and then copy it and paste it on a new track. That's not going to get you the results you're looking for with this method. You need to record them twice. So you record your guitars once, and then you arm a new track, and you record it again, playing it as close as possible to the original recording. Now, this is where I was talking about earlier. You have to make sure you know your parts and can play them well, because while, the beauty of human beings playing instruments is you're never going to get the exact same recording twice. You need to be close. You need to be really close and tight in order for this to work. Those slight variances in your playing are what's going to make your guitars sound bigger and fuller. But if you stray too far, then that starts to take away and things get loose and sloppy and muddy, and it won't work. So you got to make sure that you're playing really tight, doubling your track to as close as possible to the original that you did. Now, double tracking is only half of the equation here. The other half is going to be panning. And specifically in this case, we're talking about hard panning. You're going to take those guitar tracks that you recorded and you're going to slam them full left and full right. No half measures here. Some people will say like, oh, pan it this much. And then no, slam them full left and full right. Trust me, it works. If you think about your mix as, in terms of a highway, right? You got this big 6-lane highway, right? And you got all the lanes closed except for one right down the middle, right? And all this traffic is trying to get through this one lane. It's going to cause problems, right? You're going to have accidents, traffic backups, whatnot. The same thing is happening in your mix. There's a lot of stuff that's going right down the middle. If you think your main vocals, your bass, your kick, and your snare, honestly, a lot of your drums are coming down the middle. And then you slam guitars on top of that in the middle. That's a lot of competing frequencies and a lot of chances for things to just kind of get muddied up and get lost in the mix. So, you look at that highway and now you open up all those other lanes and you allow traffic to flow out, things are going to go a lot more smoothly. So you take those guitar tracks and you slam them out wide, and that gives not only your guitars a lot of room to breathe and operate on their own without fighting with other frequencies, but all that other stuff in that already crowded center channel is going to have more room to breathe as well. All right, now I'm going to show you a real life example of this actually happening in the context of a mix. So I have a mix pulled up here, one of my old band songs. We have a double tracked rhythm that is panned hard left and hard right. And then what I did is I took those rhythms and I copied them to a new track, but no panning, just straight up the center. And I'm going to A-B between the two just to show you how big of a difference this is. We're going to start off first with just a single track up the center, just to show you what it would sound like if you didn't double track and you just recorded one guitar straight, what that sounds like versus double track hard panned. All right, obviously, there's a big difference there. As soon as you switch from that single track down the center to those wide pan double track guitars, the mix just opens up. It's a huge difference. It doesn't take like a really good ear to hear that difference. That's pretty noticeable to anybody listening to that. Now, you might say like, well, obviously it's a big difference. You're playing one track versus two tracks. But just to show you that double tracking alone won't get you this result, we're going to re-enable that track now, and we're going to play the double tracked right up the center and compare it to the double track hard pans, just to show you it still makes a huge difference. All right, so there you go. Obviously, a huge difference in those two mixes. Once you push those guitars out wide, it just gives everything in the mix more room to breathe and exist on its own. The guitars sound bigger and fuller. It gives all the other stuff that's up the middle a chance to breathe as well without, just smashing into each other and competing over the same space. Like I said, this is nothing that I came up with, just something I learned along the way and wanted to pass on to you guys that were asking the questions. So go give this a shot in your own mixes, see how it works out for you. If there's any other questions you guys have for me with regards to my recording or mixing techniques, feel free, hit me up in the comments below, and I will be glad to help you out any way I can. All right, guys, we will catch you guys on the next one.